So, good morning. My name is Shazia Khan, and today's session is on finishing off Learning Outcome 1, which we tried to finish off yesterday. So we're going to just finish off Learning Outcome 1, and then we'll go on to Learning Outcome 2. So we were looking at the first bit on communication barriers, because Learning Outcome 1 was looking at how health and social care organisations communicate, and then understanding language needs and preferences. So special interest, this is the slide that we're on in regards to finishing off Learning Outcome 1. So special interest groups work on behalf of people who have sensory impairments. So people that have disability. These groups provide information and are designed to raise awareness to help people who suffer from sensory deprivation to overcome barriers to communication they face. Care workers should understand the language needs and communication preferences of people with sensory impairments and disabilities, that their communication skills. The best way to respond to situations like this for care workers is to use the preferred language. So through an interpreter or sign language, adapt their communication strategies to the language needs and preferences of the person. And sometimes it's really, really important when you talk in a slow and clear pace, because you're repeating and rephrasing, and sometimes people find it hard to understand. So speaking a little bit slowly can help a person with hearing or visual impairment or a learning disability, or someone who's just confused. So the speed and pace is really important, to make them understand. Electronic devices. So there's a range of electronic devices that help assist people overcome communication difficulties. These include things like text phones, telephone amplifiers, hearing aids. They're used to both send and receive messages. So it's important to give the person using a communication device enough time to be able to use it. So ways of overcoming barriers: reduce outside noise, speak clearly, use interpreters, provide induction loops, improve lighting, adapt to personal needs, display clear signs, listen carefully. So this sign here, this ear, is an induction loop system, which helps deaf people hear sounds more clearly by reducing or cutting out background noise. So 1D1 was to evaluate how different uses of technology can enhance or detract from communication in health and social care organisations. Here, in your assignment part, you'll be looking at things like social media, email, web, webinars, presentation, software, PowerPoint, such as and Prezi. So these are some of the references for this Learning Outcome 1 that you've done. We finished off Learning Outcome 1 now, so we had a couple of slides. So what we've looked at today in regards to Learning Outcome 1 is the different forms of communication. So we've looked at Learning Outcome 1, looked at the principles of communication, looked at the different models of communication, business communication models, the different types in Learning Outcome. We looked at of different types of communication models, such as Aristotle, Laswell, Warren Weaver, Scrams, Lily's, Berlow, Contemporary. And then we also looked at the theories of communication: humanistic, cognitive, social, behavioural, psychoanalytical. And we also looked in Learning Outcome 1 at the benefits of informal and formal communication, verbal and non-verbal communication, looked at barriers to communication and dialects, and also looked at the different types of signs and things in regards to communication. So we've finished off Learning Outcome 2 now. Can you see this come up now? Learning Outcome 2, sorry, we finished Learning Outcome 1. Can you see this now?
Yes, I can see this.
Yeah, it says Learning Outcome 2. Can you see that, Toby?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, okay. So today we just finished off learning outcome 1. And if you need access to that, Toby and Mohammed, you can go onto Moodle and get access to that. And also now we're going to look at learning outcome 2. Learning outcome 2 is to be able to interact orally with individuals in a health and care setting. So communication, we'll start off by what it is. Communication is not just about what we say verbally, but also what we say through our actions. Our bodies and faces can impress how we are feeling and what we are saying in many different ways. Can you give me an example of how our body language or faces can express how we're feeling? How does your face express how you're feeling?
During telling the patients about medicine or any other thing, we just wave our hand and smiling face with to express our yes.
Yeah, sometimes making facial expressions such as smiling or a frown can identify, how you're feeling, and your body language as well is really important. Without using any words, see if you can use your body and face to convey the following emotions. So happy, how would you convey happy? Toby,
When you're
how would
smiling, you're happy.
Smiling, good. Anxious.
Probably you're feeling a bit, when you're anxious, you probably make a grumpy face.
Yeah.
So
And what about in pain?
it's that face.
Yeah, maybe you're showing you're holding your stomach if you've got stomach pain. And what about frightened? Where you jump if you see something. So these are kind of words and expressions, body and face expressions. People who work in healthcare professional settings may communicate with people they are caring for, with relatives and visitors, with colleagues and with practitioners from other care agencies, and for a variety of different reasons. 2.1, use different styles and methods of oral communication to meet the needs of different individuals. Different types of communication. Practitioners working in health and social care and early years settings need to be able to communicate in different ways with individuals and others, including their colleagues, other professionals they work with, and individual families and advocates. There are 4 types of different communication skills that practitioners must be able to understand and use: verbal, non-verbal, written, and specialist. Why do you think in a health and care professional we must know how to act and how to deal with communicate with different types of people? Why do you think it's important?
Yeah, I think it's because not everybody knows how to read.
Okay,
Not
good.
everybody
Yeah.
Not everybody knows how to like talk properly. Some people have got speech impediment. Some people have got like you can't hear properly. So I think verbal or non-verbal at times or written can actually fill in place for these things.
Yeah. What about, Toby, if you are communicating with a different doctor, must you act in a professional capacity?
Yeah, if you're talking to a person of your specialist or of your specialty, I think you can talk in a special way, because both of you all are both in the same field of study. So probably you can probably might have a special way of talking to each other to just be professional.
Yeah. And then if you're talking to a patient, if the patient's quite poorly, how would you talk with them? Would you talk with them with empathy and things like that?
Yeah, definitely, because you need to make them understand you, and you just don't talk at them anyhow. So it does not
and
bring
make them
out
feel comfortable as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you need to make them feel comfortable because they need to be able to, understand what you're saying. So verbal skills, verbal or spoken communication can provide others with clues about who you are, and how you're feeling. For example, practitioners who feel confident in their own abilities will tend to speak more clearly and positively than practitioners who do not. So, you know, if you've got a doctor or a healthcare professional who's been in the job for 20 years, who knows what they're talking about, and then you've got a trainee who doesn't know what they're talking about. So, you know, it shows that they are positive and they know what they're talking about. Communicating with clarity involves sharing information with others clearly, accurately, and in a way that can easily be understood. By pronouncing words clearly, not mumbling, and using words that are respectful. Why is it so important to be respectful in any sort of environment when communicating? Why is it important that you are respectful as an individual? Mohammed, why do you think it's important to be respectful? Mohammed, can you hear me?
Yes,
Why do you
ma'am.
think it's important to be respectful in any situation when you're communicating with someone?
It is very important
Yeah,
because when when we talk to any person, any patient, any other person to explain something, we
yeah,
use respected words
yeah,
and very clarity in our
yeah, yeah.
behavior.
We can't use words that are slang or anything like that. You know, Toby, what do you think? Why do you think it's so important that we use words that are respectful?
Yeah, like it says respect is reciprocal. So you get what you
Yeah,
take, like you get what you do in you get what you do, like in return.
yeah,
So you don't want to talk to people in a rude manner, in a harsh
yeah,
manner. So because you want to be cool and gentle with your words, so you
yeah.
get the same amount of response.
Yes, it's really, really important that you communicate with respect. It's also involves being receptive to communication from others, listening attentively and confirming understanding of what is being expressed. Why is it important to listen to someone attentively? Why is it important? If you listen to someone like you're listening to me, if you listen, why is
It's
it so
very
important
important
you
to listen
listen?
attentively because
Sorry?
you don't want to miss. I said it's very important
Yes.
to listen attentively
Yeah.
because you don't want to
You
miss
don't
on
want to
vital
miss
points.
anything, do you?
Yeah, yeah.
And especially in the healthcare profession, if you've got a doctor who's, you know, talking to you and listening to you and talking to you attentively, you as a patient need to listen in case he's talking about your medication or your health condition, you know, so you need to be able to understand that you're listening. Then we've got 2.2, demonstrate appropriate listening skills. Effective communication in care settings helps both care workers and people who use care services to form good relationships and to work well together. People communicate most effectively when they feel relaxed, are able to empathize with the other person, and experience warmth and genuineness in the relationship. Effective communication also requires the care worker to develop and use a range of skills, abilities, and communication techniques. So we have the SOLAR model of communication. So the SOLAR model of communication developed by Gerard Egan and based on approaches used in counselling, the SOLAR model of communication shows how active listening can be demonstrated in others. So sit squarely in relation to the person. This demonstrates that you are ready to listen. Open position, so open body language, indicates more attentive listening, and this means that not folding your arms. Lean slightly towards the person to whom you are listening. This indicates that you are interested in what the other person has to say. Eye contact is so important, so maintaining good eye contact. Relax, it's important to sit still without fidgeting as this can distract the other person. So you need to be, within the SOLAR model, it says you need to be actively listening to what the other person is saying, and the way you do it is try to, you know, lean slightly towards the person and make them feel like that you are interested in what they are saying. Active listening. A person who uses active listening pays close attention to what the other person is saying and notices the non-verbal messages they are communicating. People who are good at active listening also tend to be skilled at using minimal prompts. These are things like nods. If you nod your head, that kind of sound, and encouraging words like yes, I see, or go on. Skillful use of minimal prompts encourages the person to keep speaking or to say a little more. So it makes them feel comfortable. If you say prompts, you know, if you get prompts like you nod your head, that means you're listening, don't you? If you say, yes, I understand, or yes, I see, then you say, go on, carry on. That makes the person want to speak more about the situation. Listening and attending. So are by far the most important aspects of being a healthcare professional. Why do you think listening and attending are the most important aspects of healthcare professional? Listening and attending. Why do you think that's so important?
Listening is very important because if we listen the patient, we can solve their problems and we can help them easily and a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, we can listen
By
and we
listening.
can help them.
Yes.
So everyone needs to be listened to. If we can listen to someone, we can really help them. Just like Mohammed said, curiously, some people don't consider listening as communication. To them, it seems odd that part of communication involves being quiet, but listening is vital to good communication. Attending, it is the act of truly focusing on the other person. It involves consciously making ourselves aware of what a person is saying and of what they are trying to communicate to us. It is concerned with our attention. Aspects of listening. So you've got different aspects of listening, okay? And the first one is linguistic aspects of speech. And that refers to the actual words and phrases that are being used. So, you know, sometimes you look at the phrases that are being used and, you know, including things like, you know, like if a single word is being used and like things like different families of languages, for example, including English, maybe a word that's been used, Arabic, Mandarin. These are referring to linguistic aspects of speech. Paralinguistics refers to all aspects of speech that are not words. So the timing, the tone, the volume, the pitch, and the accent. Sometimes people struggle with the accent as well, because, you know, you may be from Liverpool and then you may be from Yorkshire and your accent is totally different. Non-verbal aspects of communication. So body language, again, facial expression, use of gestures, body position, movement, proximity to others, touching. That's quite a non-verbal one. What about, you know, when we look at facial expression, I'll give you an example. If you're in court, you know what, if you're in a court in front of a judge, how does facial expressions make you guilty? How do we know that you're guilty of a crime? What happens to your face? Toby, what do you think? How can someone identify that you are guilty in a court of law?
I believe when you're not remorseful in the court of law, like when you're not even remorseful about what you've done, so I think you're guilty. When you're not remorseful about what you've done.
Yeah, can your facial expression identify that you are guilty?
Yeah, sure. When you don't feel sad, when you're not sad about what you've done, when your facial expression does not show you being sad about what you've done.
Also things like, you know, but your body position, how you use gestures. If you touch someone in certain cultures, sometimes, you know, it's not good to shake hands. It's not good to, you know, touch a lady, you know, in certain cultures. So you need to take, why is it important to take cultures into account? An example would be in the Muslim culture, you are not allowed to, well, some women don't like to shake hands. You know, they don't like to have you know, another man shake their hands, so they won't shake hands. They will just say hello. So, you know, touch is a non-verbal aspects of communication, but in certain cultures, why is it so important to take cultures into account? Why must we take cultures into account?
I think due to cultural diversities, that not all cultures are the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you said, I'm a Muslim too, so I don't shake hands with females. So it's just an ideology. So
yeah,
I think it needs to be considered too.
Yeah, and a touch is sometimes a bad thing, isn't it, in Muslim culture? If you go and hug somebody, you know, it's not always, you know, the best form of, you know, like body language to do. You know, so some people again don't mind that. Some people do. So facial expression, body language plays a big part in it. Behavioral aspects of listening. So sit squarely in relation to the patient or the relative. Maintain an open position. Okay, so maintain that there is an open position in place. Lean towards the person. And the way you lean towards the person is trying to make that person feel welcome, and also to identify that you are listening to that person. Maintain reasonable eye contact with the person and relax. And listening is communicating. So relax. If you're relaxed, the other person is going to feel relaxed. Okay, the skill, eye contact and attention communicates you are important. So if you look at someone and you're paying attention and you have eye contact with that person, it communicates to that person that they are important. Minimal prompts, so nodding your head, yes, go on. That identifies that you are listening to that person. And it's so important if it's a patient with health conditions and they want you to listen and they're very quiet and they don't talk that much, then, you know, you need to prompt your head and say, yes, carry on. It makes them feel more comfortable. It makes them feel that you are not ignoring them and you are listening to them, because that's so important. Open questions. So how are you feeling? That's really important, because it identifies that you are interested, that you are concerned about the person's well-being, and that you are interested in what they are saying to you, because, you know, you need to make that person feel more comfortable in this situation. So blocks to effective listening. Healthcare professionals' own problems. These are sometimes blocks to identify that you're not listening properly to the person. Health professionals' stress and anxiety. Feel you do not have enough time. Awkward and uncomfortable seating. Lack of attention to listening behavior. Value judgments and interpretations on behalf of the healthcare professions. Aids to effective listening. So these are some aids that you need to take into account when you are looking at effective listening. Attention, make sure you are paying attention. Suspension of judgment. Why is it important to make sure you are paying attention? Why do you think it's so important to make sure that you are paying attention?
Yeah, it is, because you need to grasp every information the person is passing. So you need to listen attentively.
Yeah, attentively. You need to grasp every information. You need to be able to absorb all the information given to you by the speaker, showing that you are listening and interested, and provide any sort of feedback or to the speaker. Suspension of judgment by the healthcare professional. Attention to the behavioral aspects of listening. avoidance of interpretation, and sensible use of minimal prompts. It's really, really important that you are there to help ensure that you hear the other person and the other person knows that you are listening, because, you know, it shows that you are listening, you are not ignoring them, because, you know, some people do have, you know, issues in regards to, you know, the person is ignoring me. And also, you know, listen to them. Don't start saying anything without listening to them, because it's good to listen to them first before they are, you know, going to come across and say things to you. And you need to, when to listen, you need to be more, make a conscious effort, not just to hear what the people are saying, but to take in what the people are saying, also to digest and understand what they're saying. Not only does listening enhance your ability to understand better and make you a better communicator, it also makes the experience of speaking to you more enjoyable to other people. So, you know, the best way to do it is to kind of, you know, discover a grasp and understanding of what's going on. You know, it's remain calm. Don't get angry in a situation, and be open to, you know, listen, to accept new ideas, but also to, you know, ask questions, you know, and identify what the issues are. 2M1, so use appropriate methods, including technology and other aids to present information orally. Communication aids, technology has enabled an increasing number of electronic and digital aids to communicate that can help people who are have difficulty speaking. Many of these devices enable messages to be recorded and stored and played at the touch of a button. The devices range in sophistication and price. Information, advice, and guidance on choosing the most suitable devices is available from speech and language therapists to whom a referral can be made within the NHS. So, you know, communication aids are good for people to have in place, but you need to have good communication aids in place for the person to use. 2D1, manage and facilitate a question and answer session to demonstrate subject knowledge and assess effectiveness of oral communication skills. Here, you need to conduct a question and answer session with your tutor, and this is part of your assignment as well. To obtain information, the primary function of a question is to gain information. So what time is it? To help maintain control of a conversation. So while you are asking questions, you are control of the conversation. You are assertive people are more likely to take control of conversations, attempting to gain the information they need through questioning. And also you need to look at the pages on there for assertiveness. Express an interest in other person. So questioning allows us to find out more about the respondent. This can be useful when attempting to build rapport and show empathy, or simply to get the other person better. Also, there's got the building rapport and empathy, if you click on them. To clarify a point, so here questions are commonly used in communication to clarify something that the speaker has said. Questions used as clarification are essential in reducing misunderstanding and therefore more effective communication, where we look at clarification. So when it can also result if you have poor communication, poor listening skills, and that could be things like psychological or physical situations such as visual or auditory. What causes poor communication? What do you think would be poor communication?
Yeah, poor communication is when you don't actually get the information that is needed from a communication. Like when you don't get the necessary information needed from from actually involving yourself with somebody.
Yeah. Are you when poor communication, is it where you're not listening as well, what they are saying?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Sorry.
Can poor communication be where you're not listening to the person?
Yeah, definitely. If you're not listening, it's definitely with poor communication, because you won't get what the person is saying. You won't have all the information you needed.
Yeah. So, you shouldn't be, you should be trying to identify and listen to what the person is saying, because, it affects poor listening needs, assumptions come in place, misunderstandings, they lead to errors and ineffective decisions. So, you need to, on a personal level, poor listening leads to hurt and feelings and loss of team cohesion. So sometimes you need to be able to listen properly and take things down. Okay, so today we've looked at the listening skills and why they are so important, non-verbal. We've also looked at the communication skills, the soul of communication, and why it's so important to listen and barriers to communication. Here, there are some references here which are good for you to have a look at, but also have a read around. So you've got Booth McGuire on the Journal of Advanced Nursing, Department of Health, NHS Cancer Plan. Maybe have a read around that for next week, so we know. Department of Health, end of life strategy, effective communication skills are the key to communication, listening and attending, high quality care for all, so the NHS next stage review, improving outcomes, and then palliative care, talking about end of life. These are some of the resources that are available to you to have a look at in regards to your listening skills, your communication skills within the healthcare professionals. And also there's some journals there that you could look at as well. So overall today, yesterday's session and today's session, we looked at things like yesterday's session, we looked at principles of communication, the different types of models of communication. We looked at the theory of communication, also informal and formal communication, verbal and non-verbal, which we looked at in learning outcome 2 as well. Listening again, the importance of listening, the solar model. We also, this was in learning outcome 2. We also looked at the blocks to effective listening and why listening is so important in the healthcare professional and why there's a need for it. Okay, so what we're going to do, has anyone got any questions before we finish off this session, which is learning outcome 2?
Yeah, sorry, the 2D1. The 2D1.
Sorry?
Yeah, the 2D1. When you said
2D1, let me have a look. Is that going back up to D1?
Yeah, 2D1. Says we actually do a question and answer. Are we meant to ask the questions?
Yeah, it's a question and answer session with a tutor, okay? And I will give you examples of that next week, okay? And what we're going to go through, we're going to do an assignment discussion. So next week we'll have learning outcome 3 and then we'll finish. And then on the Saturday, we'll do assignment discussion and we'll go through all your assignment with you. And I'll give you some examples of, question and answer sessions that Raman has sent me. But also Moodle will have this on as well, okay?
All right, thank you.
Any questions? Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
Mohammed?
Nothing, ma'am. But tell me that past lectures with Raman, we can found lectures on YouTube.
Sorry, what's that?
Hello?
Mohammed, I didn't hear you. Sorry, what did you say?
I'm trying to say that last time when we take a lecture from Raman, these are our lectures are present on a YouTube channel in video shape.
Yeah.
Can we get these lectures also?
Yes, these lectures will be on Moodle for you on the communication skills module. Okay, so these will be available to you on Moodle.
Okay.
Okay, so if you go on to Moodle, but in case of if you don't get them, just tell me by next week and I'll get Victor to send them to you. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Have you got any questions? Any more questions?
No, ma'am.
Mohammed? Okay, Toby, have you got any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so we finish this session. Please have a look at the resources and read around any sort of one of these resources on the McCabe and Timmins one, the communication skills for nursing practice. And what I'll do next week is I'll see you on Friday next week at 11 o'clock for learning outcome 3. Okay.
All right,
Thank you
Ma.
for today's session and thank you for attending. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
So
See you
thank you.
next week.
Okay, okay.
Okay
All
then.
right.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Thank you, Mohammed.